Well, the season has started. It's all kicked off. It's the winter again.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, it is. I am here with Andy from Snow Camps Europe as usual.
Hello.
And I am Paul from Ski Instructor Academy. We're going to have a little bit of an update as to how this season has started off. And I would say, although it hasn't started off fully, I would say slow, where it literally was, it's very dry, there's no snow. It did get some big dumps, but then it's went warm and also dried up a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's been about 2 weeks as we record this today on, what are we, Tuesday the 26th. It's been about 2 weeks since it last snowed. And as you say, it warmed up, so the cannons haven't been running. However, today the cannons were running. And today is a national holiday here in Austria, so it was very busy up there, but it is very sketchy. It's very icy. A lot of the glacier ice is poking through, and even though they're grooming it overnight, it's then kind of been freezing. It's very granular and machiney like, and it's getting pushed off very quickly, and then ice is through. So it's not the best, but at least we're skiing, and there's work to be had, and there's lots of people up there taking lessons. And your arrivals have started.
I hate this week at the end of October, because it's where the Dutch have holidays, the English have holidays, the Germans. Yeah, everybody comes down, and it's
up there
a horrible
this week. We've got obviously Austrians are on holiday, Northern Germany's on holiday. There's some English people over there. Last week was the Dutch, and it was the southern German half. So yeah, it's been a couple of busy weeks, and I think we've had this over the 10 years I've been here, and with you guys, is we've had a couple where we've had not a lot of snow, which means everybody is on them 2 T-bars.
Yeah. And
you're in a 2-hour lesson, you might get 2 runs in. Although what they have managed to do this year is they've opened Sonnenkar and they've opened the Schneehase. So I think there's 12 lifts open. Right. But the big problem is there are so many race teams up there, and they are taking up so much of the terrain that the paying tourist, €60.50 a day, are getting 2.5 to 3 runs at the moment to ski on, which...
Yeah, it's a difficult one, that balance of, and especially because I always didn't understand why they don't charge them for ski lanes, because like anybody could go up there and book a ski lane. And it's like, well, surely there's a charge to it, but no, I mean, we book ski lanes all the time for our examinations and things, and we don't pay, which is a bit weird. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think as a tourist, I know people are desperate to ski, some people, and they love it so much, but I would not be skiing at this time of year. I would wait always till about the first week of December, where a lot of the exams start finishing off. The races definitely disappear, and you get this 2.5 weeks in December where it's epic. Like, there's just nobody about, and the snow's now getting really good. And I can see it's going to snow next week, for example. You know, when our lot arrive, typically it's going to start snowing. There'll all be first day on the slopes with like powder and stuff.
We've talked about this in another podcast, haven't we? It always snows, and 200, 300 of them go up, and they have the most horrific first day. They've all got new boots, they've all got new skis, and they don't understand why they can't ski, and it's because there's so much fresh snow.
What is normally good, I find, is, you know, okay, it's maybe a bit of a myth, but you tend to find if it's slow start, it's a good season. If it comes in too fast in October, I sometimes think, oh, this season, January is going to be pretty dry, and February is going to not be that good. And that tends to be proven. You really want it to start snowing sort of mid-November and start to really come down. And so maybe it's a good omen for this year. But my recommendation is generally to people, look, avoid this time of year because it's limited. And because it's limited, the people who are up there are all crammed up. If you just give it a few weeks, you'll be much happier. And once those race lanes thin out, once their resorts start opening up, they don't bother coming.
And that's what we're waiting for. Again, if it does snow the amount it says it's going to snow, I think it's next Monday or Tuesday, then a fair few of them races, some of it will be gone because they're here during the school holidays, but then the other ones, which are slightly more professional setups, let's say not just the school kids, will move on to other areas. So they will spread out a little bit, which frees it up a bit for the courses. But yeah, beginning of December.
Beginning of December, I would say. And that would maximise your entertainment value, definitely. And more guarantee better conditions. That's what we're sort of saying. Now, from the side of travelling in, I mean, always this time of year, it's pretty relatively simple with finding accommodation and stuff because there's an abundance of it. And certainly if you're going to be skiing, quite a number of weeks of the year, then I think, a way to save money is to try and pin yourself to one area where you can get a season pass and
get your season pass in the pre-sale, and you'll save a whack of money.
But can they do that? Because they can't get them online. They'd have to be here to prove their status.
I bought a lift pass for somebody who is in Portugal last week, and I had to have their photo, their name, address, date of birth, and I had to sign on their behalf that they would comply with all of the COVID restrictions. And if they were to pass their lift pass on, which I didn't believe you could do, they would also ensure that person would comply to all of the COVID restrictions. So I think people who are outside the country, there are ways they can get lift passes. And I think the Super Salzburg card is now available online.
Okay.
It wasn't at first, but I think it now is. But
because when we say buy a season pass of an area, it doesn't mean you're trapped to come into Kaprun. Then a season pass, especially those Super Salzburg cards and stuff, would allow you to travel quite a bit into different resorts, and you could go. I'm going to have a couple of weeks in Saalbach, come to Kaprun, go to Fiebertown or wherever where that card covers. So it's you can have different holidays and different.
The Salzburg card's massive, but even just the Alpine card, do they call it?
Yeah.
That covers you Leogang, Fieberbrunn, Selbach, Hinterglemm, Zelmsee, Kaprun. There's more than enough skiing for a few weeks, and I think it works out. If you're going to do more than 2 weeks, buy a season pass.
Yeah,
and if you can buy the season pass in the pre-sale, you save even more money.
Yeah.
Because I know last year I had some people come over for 3 weeks, so they all bought season passes on the very first week.
And then from the side of bars, restaurants, clubs, après and all that sort of stuff, accommodation, availability is still there, and certainly all the restaurants are opening up. Everybody's keen to make some money. So we're not seeing any problems there. Yeah, there's a bit of issue with staffing, but it hasn't shown anything yet. I mean, everybody can get food, drink and beer, which I'm sure is what they want. And they can find accommodation. So basically everything's just full gas. And I was reading the news before when I was in Birmingham to the show, and I did read that they expect the ski season to go ahead as normal. That's their expectation. There may be a possibility they have to slip into that 2G rule. And that basically would mean then your vaccination is imperative. Like, you need it. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to move. Or you'd have to have the antibodies, for example.
Yeah, I think for people, and our audience is predominantly UK based, I would say, but there are other people from around the world. But we keep talking about 3Gs. And they're coming back to us and saying, what do you want about with 3Gs? So just to explain, we've got a tiered system in Austria. It's 3-2-1. And it's at the moment, it's based on the number of intensive care beds that are taken up. And depending on how many beds are taken up, depends on how many restrictions we have. And the 3Gs are basically vaccinated, recovered, or tested. But in German, the past tense starts with a G. That's why they're called the 3Gs. So don't worry that you don't understand what 3G means. It's nothing to do with masts and phones or anything like that. It's just, have you been vaccinated? Have you recovered? Or have you been tested? And at the moment, to go into a restaurant or bar, you have to have those 3. If we go down to 2G, one of those 3, yeah. If we go down to 2G, we will lose the test. If we go down to 1G, we will lose recovered, and it will only be vaccinated people. And there is some talk that there will be another tier comes in, that if it goes very wrong with the hospitals and they get very full, that people who aren't vaccinated are going to have to then go into a 4-week lockdown.
Yeah. So the further blackmail of getting people to take the vaccination goes on. And we don't want to get involved in the politics of anti-vaxxing and vaxxing and whatever. I've already said that a million times. It's a personal decision. But certainly the governments are making life as uncomfortable as ever. And one of the things I always find funny, and obviously when I was in England, once again, as I showed people my Gruner pass we have here, is where it says nightclub entry approved. It's like, I am approved to get into a nightclub with that pass.
Did you go into any nightclubs while you were in England?
Oh, no. In fact, what was the weirdest thing with the exhibitors stand was, obviously they have an exhibitors party, I didn't even get an invite.
Someone's trying to tell you something.
It's like, we were walking out going, what's all these drinks they're lining up against these walls and all this like beer and champagne? I mean, I think it looks like they're having a party. So I think they're having because normally they do have an exhibitors party in Battersea. To be fair, I don't go anyway, but you know, it'd be nice to get an invite though, since I was the sponsor of the stands. So I was chucked out. So look, it's the start of the season. It's a quickie podcast, but it's just to tell people that it's a very positive outlook. It's kicked off. We're all skiing. We're back on snow, and you can be too. So I wouldn't, maybe the best thing to do is don't delay. Like, rather than wait till March for your ski holiday, get out when you can to make sure. And that's probably the best advice at the minute, and enjoy the slopes because they're opening up. Snow is coming, and you've probably missed it for a few years. So I bet you're desperate to get out here. Time to do it.
Drop us a line and we'll look after you when you get here. Bye for now, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.